The night before the wedding, my fiancé posted something on Instagram that caught me off guard. It read, "If you change your mind, the groom can also be someone else, you know?" And the first person to like that post was her so-called best friend of 10 years. And it's a he. I found her at her bachelorette party and confronted her. She snapped, "You're being ridiculous, always hung up on the past. No wonder no one loves you." Here's how it all started. Melody's friend, Tom, had just returned from abroad 6 months ago. The day he came back happened to be the day we were introducing our parents to each other for the first time. Everything was going smoothly, and both families were getting along great. Then Melody stepped out to take a call. When she returned, she looked troubled and said she needed to leave for a bit. I asked her what was going on, and she impatiently replied, "It's work stuff. You wouldn't understand." I felt a bit awkward, and she must have noticed because she forced a smile and said, "Can you keep our parents entertained for a while?" Then she left without looking back. This behavior seemed oddly familiar. Sure enough, after our parents left, I called her multiple times before someone finally picked up. It was Tom. "Sorry, I just got here and lost my phone. I didn't have any cash on me, so I remembered Melody's number," he explained. I gripped my phone tightly and asked, "Where's Melody?" "She went to get me some food. She was worried she wouldn't find me again, so she left her phone with me," he said, sounding quite pleased with himself. "Why? Do you need her for something?" For a moment, I was stunned and didn't know how to respond. His tone was so natural and familiar, as if he were the one dating Melody. When I finally arrived at the restaurant Tom mentioned, I saw them through the window. He was eating spaghetti and playing with Melody's phone, while she casually wiped some sauce off his face with a napkin. Tom saw me from a distance and waved. When I sat down, he apologized. "Sorry about this, Jack. Melody told me you were discussing wedding plans with your parents today, and I ended up pulling her away." I stayed silent. "Jack, are you mad at me?" Tom continued. "How about I make it up to you with a gift on your wedding day?" "Jack won't be mad." Melody suddenly chimed in, her tone indifferent. "Your situation was urgent. He knows how to prioritize." Her words hit me hard, but I said nothing. After dropping Tom off at his hotel and returning home, I finally confronted Melody. "You left me to handle both sets of parents alone. Did you ever think about how awkward that was for me?" She walked towards the study, barely glancing back. "Don't take your frustrations out on me. You know exactly who made you feel awkward." Her words cut deep, like a knife to the chest, leaving me speechless. Earlier, during dinner, my parents were trying to curry favor with Melody's parents, hoping they could help my brother find a job. Melody noticed my pale face and paused for a moment before walking over and gently hugging me. "Sorry, that's not what I meant," she said softly. "You know Tom is my best friend. He's alone in this city and has no one else to turn to." I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. "You don't need to force anything for my brother's job. My parents are just like that. Ignore them. If you ever feel you don't love me, just say it. I won't hold on to you." Even with my eyes closed, I could feel the sadness welling up inside me. "Jack, I truly love you and want to marry you," Melody said, her expression showing a hint of pain. "Remember what I told you before? I will never leave you." I bit my lip. "What about Tom?" She hesitated. "Tom and I are just friends. If you have any issues, talk to me, not him." I wasn't surprised. This wasn't the first time she'd defended Tom in front of me. The first time I met Tom was during the summer after Melody and I started dating. She suggested we visit her place. The next day, we attended a high school reunion of hers. As soon as Melody opened the door to the party room, someone hugged her tightly. "Babe, I missed you so much." Melody wriggled out of his embrace and introduced me. "Stop it. This is my boyfriend," she said, her tone scolding but her eyes affectionate. The guy looked at me, paused for a few seconds, then extended his hand with a smile. "Hi, I'm Tom." He was wearing a white t-shirt and casual pants, exuding a certain arrogance. Throughout the reunion, he made a point of showing how close he and Melody were, hugging and playfully teasing her. It wasn't until the party was almost over that he seemed to remember I was there. He raised his glass and came over. "Sorry, Jack. We're just really close and used to goofing around. Hope you don't mind." Before I could respond, one of their classmates chimed in. "Are you kidding? You two were practically a couple in high school. If her boyfriend minded, he wouldn't be here." I was taken aback, and Melody's face turned cold as she slammed her glass on the table. Paul, you're drunk. Later, I went to the restroom. When I returned, only a few people were left in the room. Melody and Tom were sitting in a corner, unaware of my presence. I overheard Tom say, "We had a pact that if neither of us was married by 35, we'd marry each other. Now that you have a boyfriend, I can rest easy." Melody gazed into his eyes. "So, you really don't mind at all?" Tom smiled warmly and patted her shoulder. "I just want you to be happy." After leaving, I hesitated for a long time before finally asking Melody about it. She took my hand and softly explained, "We were young back then, just joking around because we were close." I swallowed my bitterness and took a deep breath. "But Paul said you two were just one step away from being together. He was drunk and talking nonsense. Are you drunk too?" Melody's voice suddenly rose, sharp and severe. I was taken aback. "We've known each other for so long. If there was any chance of us being together, it would have happened already," she said, grabbing my hand and looking at me earnestly. "But now I'm with you. Doesn't that prove my feelings?" Reflecting on these memories, I finally arrived at Melody's bachelorette party. In the dim light, I saw Tom sitting in a booth, drinking. A pretty stranger approached him, trying to strike up a conversation. Melody quickly stepped in, slapping the woman's hand away. "Don't touch him," she snapped. The woman was stunned and then angrily retorted, "Who are you to interfere?" Without hesitation, Melody replied, "I'm his girlfriend." Melody then turned and saw me standing not far away. Her expression shifted through surprise, panic, and anger before settling into a calm facade. "The wedding is tomorrow. What are you doing here so late?" she asked, her eyes cold as they fell on the phone in my hand. "Didn't I tell you not to touch my phone?" "Yes, you did. But I did it anyway," I said, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. "If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have seen you claiming to be his girlfriend." I pointed at Tom, who smiled apologetically. "Sorry, Jack. Melody was just trying to help me out." His handsome face showed a sincere apology, making me look like the one causing trouble. My rationality snapped. I opened Melody's Instagram. "If you two are so innocent, then explain this," I demanded. Melody's expression turned serious. Tom seemed about to explain, but Melody cut him off. "Jack, we're getting married tomorrow. What's the point of bringing this up now?" A wave of sadness nearly overwhelmed me. Seeing my distress, Melody's expression softened. "Let's talk this out calmly, okay? Don't make a scene." Sensing something was wrong, Tom's friends gathered around. In Tom's pitiful recounting, I became the paranoid fiancé who snooped through his girlfriend's phone the night before the wedding. His friends naturally took his side. One outspoken guy said, "There's no need for this. If they were meant to be, it would have happened already. You wouldn't even be in the picture." "Shut up, Paul," Melody scolded softly. I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm, but my voice trembled. "Fine. If you two are so in love, you can have the wedding venue tomorrow." I placed the phone on the bar and turned to leave. Melody chased after me, hugging me from behind. "That's not what I meant, Jack," she said, her voice muffled by the music. "It was just a joke. Tom and I were close, but that's all in the past. When I think about the future, the only person I see is you. You're the only one in my plans. If I said something wrong, yell at me, but don't doubt my feelings. Don't leave me." In the dimly lit bar, she held me tightly. "My parents only ever loved my brother. I always felt like no one would ever love me. Melody was the exception. Even though we never had that intense, can't live without each other phase, her gentle and steady love was enough. Having someone who loves me and includes me in their future is rare and precious." "Melody," I said, my voice shaking as I looked at her hands clasped around my waist. "I can't trust you anymore." She stiffened slightly, then took out her phone. "If you don't like it, I'll delete the post right now, okay? And Tom won't come to the wedding tomorrow, just to put your mind at ease," she pleaded. In the end, I softened once again. That night, I barely slept a wink. At the crack of dawn, someone woke me up to get dressed and ready for the big day. Everything went smoothly, and I didn't see Tom among Melody's friends, which helped ease my anxiety a bit. At the wedding venue, my father, who hadn't shown me a kind face in over 20 years, forced a stiff smile. "Melody's a good one. Your brother's job is thanks to her." You better treat her well. My heart sank. What do you mean? I asked, but he wouldn't elaborate. The music started, and amidst the cheerful blessings, the MC stepped aside to reveal a large screen. I had requested a short video to be played, showcasing sweet memories from my relationship with Melody. We hadn't done many romantic things, so I had to dig through our photo albums to piece together a 2-minute clip. But suddenly, the screen went dark. It showed a dimly lit bar where Melody, clearly drunk, was sitting on Tom's lap, leaning in close. "Why can't you consider me?" she asked. Tom leaned forward and kissed her. "It's not the right time. I want to see what's out there first." The scene shifted to Melody driving at night with Tom filming her. "Coming to find me in the middle of the night, won't Jack be mad?" he asked. "If he gets mad, so be it. Nothing's more important than your safety," she replied. The final scene was from the bar last night. Tom raised his glass. "Congratulations," he said. Melody stared at him, her eyes filled with pain. "If it's not you, it doesn't matter who it is. It's all just settling," she said. The video ended, and the room fell silent. I suddenly remembered Tom drunkenly shaking my hand last night, saying, "I have a wedding gift for you, Jack. You'll love it." So this was his gift. A wave of pain washed over me, freezing my blood. Each second after the video felt like an eternity of agony. "Jack," Melody managed to say, but the banquet hall doors burst open. Tom walked in, wearing a sharp suit and holding a large bouquet of roses, his face still flushed from drinking. He stopped in front of the stage, looking up at Melody, and slowly raised a ring. "You brought this ring yesterday. I understand your feelings now. Melody, I've seen enough of the world. We don't need to wait until we're 35. I'm here to take you away. Come with me." He must have had quite a bit to drink. His eyes were slightly glazed. Melody stood frozen beside me, staring at the silver ring in his hand, lost in memories. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "You said freedom was more important than me. I was wrong, Melody. I can't stand to see you marry someone else and lose our chance forever," Tom said passionately. "Remember what you said? If I wanted, the groom could be replaced anytime. Is that offer still valid?" Melody didn't answer immediately. She glanced at me, seeing me standing there, stunned. Her eyes showed a flicker of guilt. "Jack, I'll make it up to you," she quickly explained. "Tom has a lot of pride. I can't embarrass him in front of all our old friends. I promise this is the last time." Before I could react, she turned back to Tom. The crowd buzzed with whispers, and I heard someone clearly say, "How pathetic. Not only is he being left at the altar, but his fiancée isn't even on his side." In that moment, I felt a small flame in my heart, one that had been repeatedly extinguished and reignited, finally go out for good. Melody started to speak again, but I didn't want to hear it. There was no point. "Melody," I said softly from behind her, "this wedding is off. I don't need your compensation. If I see you again, I'll throw up." With that, I turned and walked off the stage. "Jack," Melody called after me, but I didn't look back. I just kept walking towards the door, only to be stopped by my parents. My mom grabbed my wrist and whispered urgently, "Jack, are you crazy? All our relatives and friends are here. What are you doing?" "Given the circumstances, what else should I do?" I replied. She hesitated, then said, "There must be some misunderstanding. Melody seems like a good person. Maybe you didn't do enough to keep her." I stared at her blankly, then suddenly laughed. "Are you really my mother? If you hate me so much, why did you have me?" She was speechless until my father sternly said, "This wedding is happening, no discussion. Go apologize to Melody. A real man should be forgiving." A wave of nausea hit me, and I bent over, dry heaving. Staying here any longer would make me sick. Seeing this, my mom softened her tone. "Jack, we raised you with so much effort. If not for yourself, think about us. Can you find someone better than Melody?" Just then, the door opened again, and Melody hurried out. Seeing me still there, she seemed relieved. "Jack, let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked. "You approved the wedding plans, the video, everything. Melody, I was wrong to chase after you for 2 years. But if you hate me so much, why have this wedding? Why humiliate me in front of everyone?" Melody froze. "I didn't—" "Don't talk nonsense," my dad barked, then turned to Melody with a forced smile. "You two talk it out." We'll go inside before leaving. He shot me a warning glance. Just a few days ago, after meeting Melody's parents, my folks were criticizing her for being impolite. But now their attitude had completely changed. A suspicion crept into my mind. Melody? I said, looking at her. Did you arrange a job for my brother behind my back? Yes, but that's because I genuinely want to marry you, she said, reaching out as if to hold my hand. Today was just an accident. Tom and I are over. I only acted that way because he's always been so proud. I didn't want to embarrass him, but I definitely won't marry him. I only want to marry you. I felt like crying and laughing at the same time. My parents wanted to climb the social ladder, my brother needed a job, Tom wanted to save face, and Melody wanted Tom. And me? I was just a pawn in their game. I didn't want any of it anymore. Don't touch me, I snapped, stepping back. You're filthy, Melody. Her eyes dimmed, but I ignored her and steadied myself before re-entering the hall. In the second row, Melody and Tom's friends were sitting, with Tom in a white shirt, accepting their consolations. Don't be sad, Tom. Melody did agree to you after all. This is a wedding, and her parents and relatives are here, one of them said. Tom, stubborn as ever, replied, she said she loved me for 10 years. I want her to prove in front of everyone that I'm more important than Jack. Otherwise, how can he prove his feelings to me? Another guy chimed in, how about the video I edited for you, Tom? Tom glanced at him. It's great. He had always been the center of attention, never facing any setbacks. Even asking for someone's feelings had to come at my expense. I smiled bitterly and walked over. Before anyone could react, I picked up a glass and smashed it over his head. What are you doing? Tom yelled, clutching his head. Jack, are you crazy? Tom glared at me. In front of everyone, Melody chose me. If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to show my face. You still have the nerve to come after me? I looked at him calmly. You're the one who ruined a relationship and willingly became the other man. Why should I be ashamed? He seemed stung by my words. Who's the other man? I've known Melody longer than you. She confessed to me before you even met her. You're just picking up my leftovers. And if I say the word, she'll leave you for me. In this relationship, you're the other man. Got it. I didn't bother arguing further. I picked up a bottle and smashed it against his chest. The bottle shattered, and the liquid dripped down. Melody and my parents rushed over to stop me. Jack, are you insane? My dad shouted, slapping me hard. He raised his hand to hit me again, but Melody intervened. Please don't be angry. Let me talk to Jack, she said, her eyes filled with hidden pain. Jack, don't do this. I'll make it up to you. Tom stood there, incredulous. Melody, didn't you see him hit me? Melody closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with a resolute look. Tom, I did like you for a long time. Even when you showed me that ring, I didn't want to embarrass you. But I've done all I can for you. Now, I'm sure the person I love is Jack. You have many friends and family who love you, but he only has me. I can't leave him. Tom's eyes reddened, and Melody's words seemed to move her, but I felt nothing. Taking a deep breath, I looked at Melody and my parents. My brother's job is not my concern. You handle it yourselves. I'm not involved, I said. Melody seemed to sense what I was about to say. Jack, I cut her off. Melody, we're done. Completely. The wedding, which had turned into a farce, ended in chaos. Someone had recorded the whole thing and posted it online. Initially, everyone blamed Tom for crashing the wedding. But after a certain comment, the tide began to turn. Guys, here's the scoop. The original groom is a freeloader, climbing the social ladder thanks to the bride's family. Now that the wedding's off, he and his family are still clinging to her. The guy who crashed the wedding is the real hero. Someone even leaked my phone number. My messages and friend requests were flooded with insults. It wasn't hard to trace the comment back to Tom's profile, thanks to his public follow list. I took a screenshot and sent it to Melody. Get him to take it down by the end of the day, or I'll call the police, I warned. Melody replied almost immediately. Jack, where are you? Can we meet and talk? How ironic. In our 4 years of dating, she had never responded so quickly. When I had once mentioned this, she had simply said, Jack, we don't need to be glued to each other to prove our love. Ignoring her, I received message after message, each one a desperate explanation. I didn't reply. By evening, the comment was still up, and the hate messages kept pouring in. I turned off my phone and went to the nearest police station to file a report. The next day, I saw Tom at the station. For the first time in his charmed life, he looked defeated. Under the police's insistence, he reluctantly apologized and had his friend delete the comment and post a clarification video. By the time it was all over, it was dark outside. Melody was waiting at the station entrance. In just 2 weeks, she had lost weight and looked haggard. Her once bright eyes were now dull. Seeing me, she hurried over, her eyes fixed on mine. "Jack, I finally found you. You haven't answered my calls or messages. You didn't even go back to the office after moving out," she said, her voice cautious. "Jack, I promised that was the last time. From now on, I'll be devoted to you." Tom, standing beside me, gritted his teeth. "Melody, what about me? You promised you'd always wait for me." He was naive. No one waits forever, not even Melody. She turned to him, her voice cold. "Tom, you spread lies about Jack and leaked his number. We can't even be friends now." "Friends? Who wants to be friends?" Tom laughed bitterly. "Melody, have you fooled yourself with your own act? Friends don't give each other rings and kiss when drunk. Tell Jack what happened last Christmas Eve when you came to England under the pretense of a business trip." Melody's face turned ashen. She couldn't say a word, just looked at me in despair. I smiled bitterly. "You can say such filthy things without shame. Birds of a feather, indeed." After a long silence, she spoke. "That was in the past. Jack, I had no idea Tom would crash the wedding or about the video. Just give me a chance, and I'll give you the best of everything." Her voice grew softer, tinged with pain. In the past, she had always been calm and composed. If this had been before, I might have felt heartbroken. I had loved her so much, letting her control my emotions, desperately seeking the love I had never received from anyone else. I had ignored her favoritism towards Tom, convincing myself that as long as she loved me, it didn't matter if I wasn't her first choice. "Melody," I said, my face expressionless, "I don't love you anymore. Just thinking about living in the same city as you makes me sick." After leaving the police station, Melody tried to catch up with me to talk. The wedding had been such a disaster that I took a week off from work. My boss, Jasmine, a woman 5 years older than me, had received one of the wedding invitations. She approved my leave and even gave me an extra week, then suggested we meet. "I saw what happened at the wedding and the video online," she said calmly, sitting in a cafe. "Jack, do you plan to stay here? Or are you looking for a change?" I sensed an opportunity and felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. Jasmine continued, "The company is opening a branch in Mexico. We need capable people who know the business. The work will be tough, but you'll be rewarded accordingly. Think it over." It was a huge opportunity. "Jasmine, why did you choose me?" I asked. She smiled. "Because I've been through something similar. Jack, one day you'll understand. Your work and skills won't betray you. The person who will always be there for you is yourself." In the end, I told her I was willing to go. After moving to Mexico, I got a new phone number and started a new life. As Jasmine had said, the branch office needed everything built from the ground up. The work was intense and exhausting, but that was fine by me. Being worn out from work left me no energy to dwell on sadness. Occasionally, I still dreamt about the 4 years I spent with Melody. She had her good moments too. There was a time when I broke my leg and was hospitalized. Melody, who had a severe cleanliness obsession, helped me with everything, even the most personal tasks, without a single complaint. Growing up, my parents never celebrated my birthdays, but Melody made each one special, baking cakes and giving thoughtful gifts like a new computer. She put so much effort into everything. But comparisons are dangerous. I kept telling myself that she was good to me, trying to ignore the fact that if she had to choose between Tom and me, she would always choose him without hesitation. Thankfully, Tom came back, and she made her choice. I made mine too. It wasn't too late. Maybe it was because I dreamt of Melody last night, but I woke up crying. When I got to the office, I saw a familiar figure standing outside. It was Melody. After leaving the city, I had heard bits and pieces about her and Tom from mutual friends. After the wedding fiasco, Melody made several major mistakes at work and was fired. She sent out countless resumes but couldn't find a suitable job. Tom went abroad again and never returned. I wanted to pretend I hadn't seen her, but Melody called out to me. "I finally found you," she said. I turned to her with a blank expression. What do you want? Looking for a job recommendation? She shook her head, her eyes almost greedy as she looked at me. You've been gone for almost 3 months. Your old number doesn't work, and even your parents said they couldn't reach you. Is everything okay? I glanced at my watch. I have to get to work. She forced a weak smile. You just want to see me suffer, don't you? Ignoring her, I walked into the office. But by lunchtime, she was still there. This continued for several days. The weather in Mexico was unpredictable, and one afternoon it suddenly poured. Everyone rushed for cover, but she stood in the rain, unmoving. After work, she saw me and managed a strained smile. I walked away without looking back. Her persistence was almost masochistic, maybe to move me or herself. But my heart was silent, even my resentment fading away. One night, after working late, I stepped out of the office at 1 a.m. The wind was chilly, and I wrapped my coat tighter. Suddenly, I felt dizzy and almost collapsed. A figure rushed over to catch me. Jack, are you okay? Melody's voice was filled with panic. I took a few deep breaths and steadied myself, then pulled away from her. I'm fine. Probably just low blood sugar from not eating dinner. I'll take you to the hospital. Stop with your self-serving ex. This belated affection only disgusts me, I said coldly. My life is fulfilling now. My work is challenging, and I'm content. If you really want to make things easier for me, stop showing up. Her eyes filled with pain and regret. Jack, even if I pursued you for 2 years like you did, you still wouldn't forgive me? I laughed bitterly. Melody, do you think the world revolves around you? You think you can hurt someone and just apologize, and everything will be fine? She was used to my submissive tolerance, not my sharp retorts. She just stared at me, stunned. Stop harassing me. If you're outside the office tomorrow, I'll call the police, I said, turning to leave. My head was still spinning, so I walked slowly, but each step was firm. For a year, I heard nothing about Melody. The branch office thrived, expanding several times. I was now a team leader, earning nearly 3 times what I used to. I began to understand what Jasmine had meant. I wouldn't betray myself. The love I had for myself would only grow deeper and never fade. One day, our department secured a $1 million contract. To celebrate, we went to a nearby seafood restaurant. After a few drinks, I felt dizzy and stepped out to the terrace for some fresh air. The cool breeze brushed my face, and my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, I answered, but there was no response. Just as I was about to hang up, Melody's raspy voice came through. Jack, how did you get my number? She laughed softly. A dying person wants to see you one last time. Melody, you're almost 30. Playing these childish games is pointless. I'm not playing games, Jack. I'm not lying. I'm really dying. 6 months ago, Melody was diagnosed with leukemia. She had a bone marrow transplant, but the rejection was severe, and her condition worsened. The pain was unbearable, and now it was happening more frequently. She didn't think she could hold on much longer. Before I die, I just wanted to hear your voice. Jack, can you come see me one last time? After a long silence, I asked for the hospital address. On the way there, I kept thinking she might be faking it to get me to come. But when I walked into the hospital room, I knew she was telling the truth. The pain and deathly pallor on her face couldn't be faked. Melody looked so different, so unfamiliar. You seem to be doing well, she said weakly, forcing a smile. At least the world hasn't been too harsh on you. I asked, hasn't Tom come to see you? Even if you two fell out, you were friends for over 10 years. He's married now. I nodded. I see. He needs to avoid any misunderstandings. I sat by her bed for a while, looking at the wrinkled oranges on the table, making small talk. Eventually, we fell silent. Melody suddenly said, Jack, I really regret it. I didn't cherish you. You were such a good person, but I was blinded by my obsession with Tom. The more he pushed me away, the more I clung to him. Maybe this is my punishment. After a moment of silence, I stood up. Don't think too much. Focus on getting better. She sat up in a panic, wincing in pain. Are you leaving already? I have a meeting at the main office. Her eyes dimmed. So you didn't come back just to see me. I shouldn't have expected anything after hurting you so much. Goodbye, Jack, she said, her voice filled with sorrow. I walked out of the room, the smell of disinfectant in the air. The The floor was freshly mopped and slippery, so I had to walk slowly. As I passed by, I heard her muffled cries of pain from the room. But I didn't look back. The end of the story. Thanks for listening. Tell us in the comments how you feel about it.